Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the pod at the Palace. Curtis Wilkerson and Scotty Borderline with Natty State Sports here with you on a Monday, a post-win Monday, a post-Mizzou win Monday. That's always a good thing.
We love to see it.
You just love to see it. I mean, after all, the title of our last podcast was "For the Love of God, Don't Lose to Mizzou."
We've been saving that one for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we've been waiting on that one. So it was good. Arkansas did their part. Got to feel, I think, pretty decent about where this team is at right now, Scotty. I mean, we're in Arlington for the baseball event down there at Globe Life Field.
Whatever it was called.
Yeah, the Kubota series or whatever that might be. But it was really cool, man, being able to be down there at Texas Live and live streaming that game, even though it was a home game. A lot of Razorback fans turned out, and for a while there, it was kind of cryptic. It was a little funeral-ish as we were sitting there. But as Khalif Battle got going, dude.
So did everybody else.
Yeah,
he woke the place up.
Yeah, thank you for that, Khalif Battle. What a freaking performance, man. 42 points from KB. Arkansas needed those on a day where, not many other people, Mekhi Mitchell, being the exception there, really had much going offensively. But, hey, sometimes it's what you're going to get. Tremont Mark has done it in the past. We've known that Battle is a guy who could fill it up, and I think that's probably an understatement for what he did against Missouri.
Absolutely, dude. I was texted you earlier. It was like, I got some KB notes.
Yes, I've been waiting for him.
So he had 42 against Missouri. I believe that's the most in an SEC game, or second most in an SEC game behind Todd Day.
Yep.
Which anytime you can be in a conversation with one of the GOATs of the program, like that's good company.
You're right where you want to be.
42 against Missouri, he had 41 in the previous 3 games combined.
Oh, wow.
And so it's not, but it wasn't like he wasn't scoring the ball.
True.
The previous couple games, I think he might be in double figures in 3 straight games for the first time this year. I didn't have that note written down, so I might look like an idiot. But his 6 threes against Missouri, had 6 threes in the previous 8 games combined.
Wow.
So he was getting the threes up, knocking threes down, and the offense is just different when he's scoring the ball, stretching the defense out. I think, and I'm not trying to nerd out or big brain this or whatever, but one of my favorite things about what KB's done this month, and we've seen him play better, the last 3 or 4 games, he's got 1 turnover this month.
Yeah. 134
minutes. So he's taking care of the ball. And I think his assist-to-turnover ratio the last 5 games is like 6-1. And he might only have 6 assists and 1 turnover. But you like it when one of your primary backcourt guys is taking care of the ball. 10-plus free throws in back-to-back games for the first time. The 14 he took the other day were a career best. And what I love, and this is maybe my staple shout out to CBB Analytics every time we do one of these. He's shooting 38.7% from 3 above the break in SEC play, and he's 7 of 11 from the wing. So he knows where he wants to get his shots up, and he's taking shots from where he's good at taking shots at, which is really, really good.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, 42 points on 15 shots that's just. I mean, like Musk said, it's unheard of.
It's unheard of, for sure.
That's super, super efficient. We think about, Wade Taylor's 41 in that building, last month, and that was on 32 shots. And there's a big difference in what he did versus what Battle did. That was super impressive, man. I love the 6 threes. I love that he was putting them up there. I just love that Arkansas is shooting more threes in general at the moment. If I remember correctly, and maybe it was you that told me this actually, Arkansas hit double-digit threes in this game against Missouri for the first time since the season opener.
Yes, that is correct.
And that was something, I don't think I came into the season thinking, Arkansas is going to hit 10 threes per game, but I thought they'd do it more than twice over the course of the year. So that was good to see. It opens up a lot of things for him offensively. And Battle, it's interesting. I feel like we've talked about a number of different guys who've had their ups and downs. It's been the theme of the season, right? Like consistency. We've talked about L, being in the doghouse or, down on the depth chart or whatever, and being able to, just kind of keep his emotions in check and be ready to deliver when his number's called. And it's been a similar situation with Battle. And he talked about it where, he got to campus, was fired up. He broke his foot. He missed a lot of time in the summer. Then he's coming back. He's playing in the Purdue game. He's about to throw up because he's out of shape. And then he's had the ups and downs trying to figure things out, defensively, schematically. And we had, a period of time there where he wasn't playing at all or just barely. He'd get a 2-minute look and he's getting yanked out of there. And it would be easy for a guy to kind of fold up and for him to respond the way he has, especially with Arkansas being shorthanded with some guys out. That includes in the backfield with Minifield. What he's done lately has been really impressive. And I've always kind of felt like Battle might be the dude that Arkansas needs. You got other dudes like Tron Mark. He's very capable of being your guy, and he probably still is, although I think that shoulder's bothering him. But
I think it definitely is, yeah.
Battle Tremont Mark is a silent assassin, and you love that. Battle brings a swag, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what has been missing on the floor.
Lets you know about it.
He lets you know about it. He talks to you. He'll hit you with the shimmy. That kind of stuff gets the crowd going.
Thank God we saw that again. It was like the first time in forever.
Dude, and how iconic was that for him to hit the shimmy and Danielle Musselman's up on her feet and she's, pointing at him and it's like, all right.
Yeah, because he had to do it to somebody because he normally does it to Ronnie Brewer.
Yes.
But he was on the opposite side of the floor, so he had to hit it. Yeah. It was a good call there.
That type of that energy, that emotion, that's all the stuff that I think, fans have really grown to appreciate about Razorback basketball over the previous 4 years. And that's the stuff that I think has kind of soured them on this team, at different points when they've really been struggling this season. Because again, like we said, it's not about the losses piling up. You don't want that to happen, but it's just been the lack of competitiveness at times. And my God, like knock on wood here, but hopefully they're on the other side of that nonsense because they put together 3 games in a row now. 2 that they've won. If you ask Muss, it should be 3. He really wants that Mississippi State game back. We'll talk about it.
I think he's probably still watching. He's watching it back again.
He's probably watched that more times since the game ended Saturday than he's watched the Mizzou game or Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
The Mississippi State game, people, Muss feels like they should have won.
Yeah, that one's stuck in his craw a little bit.
For obvious reasons. But no, I like the swagger that Arkansas is playing with right now. They seem super connected. They're defending a heck of a lot better than they had been. It's not perfect, but man, it looks like a much improved team. I'm happy. You swept the Aggies. You swept Missouri. That was a good week for Arkansas. I feel like they have some real momentum that they can build off here. It's got to be one game, one day at a time.
For sure.
They've dug themselves in too deep of a hole for it to matter. I know a little bit later we're going to talk about some of the scenarios for SEC tournament seeding and stuff, but right now in the moment, which is where people should live with this team, you got to feel fairly encouraged about what they've done lately.
I feel encouraged.
Yeah.
I mean, I was excited to come in here and talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got a big-time scoring performance the other day, and
Man, that was awesome.
It's not just KB scoring the ball. It's the fact that he'll go for, he'll have a nice scoring game, and then Eric will give him a compliment about how, he's bought in defensively and like the
and he's rebounding.
The ins and outs of like just he's doing the little things that make a big difference in the big picture. And so I've been a big KB guy since he got here. Like I went and talked to him in June, and you can tell he's got a different mindset about him. And
that's one way to put it.
he's Jersey to the core, and when he's hooping, like you see that come out. Like he's probably busted some old dudes on the outdoor courts in Hillside before, like doing some stuff like that. And I think, not to talk too much about KB, he deserves it though, but that swagger and that confidence, it bleeds through the rest of the team when he gets going. I think you're right about T-Mark's shoulder, and I'm a little concerned about that.
He did not look he just didn't look comfortable.
Yeah,
the
10
last couple
points. He only
games.
took 7 shots the other night, but I mean, KB was hot, so nobody else needed to take more than 7 shots,
right,
to be perfectly honest.
And maybe, like if a guy like Battle is knocking down threes and they're spreading the floor a little bit more, it does open up for Mark to get to the rim where he doesn't have to settle for that mid-range so much. So maybe there could be some give and take there. But yeah, it looked a little bit uncomfortable.
Getting back to your point about feeling good, I think Eric is Eric's feeling that too. Like he says this team's playing its best ball of the season, and he's just like, there's no doubt in his mind that that's the case. He said that he feels like they're in a good flow, But he also said because of the kind of up and down nature of this team, you know, we've got a pretty good sample size. There's been a lot of up and down. He doesn't know how long it's going to last, but you feel pretty good about it lasting at least another game.
Yeah.
And then the way that these guys have been competing, you know, just go into Rupp with nothing to lose, you know? Like, just give those dudes a fight. You know, they don't play a whole lot of defense, but you know they can really score it. But the way Arkansas is defending right now, I'm not ready to say that they're going to go in there and win or whatever, because I'm at Kentucky. I'm really not.
Yeah.
But I'm almost looking ahead to that one. Almost looking ahead to it. And that's what this team can't do. They got to be very in the present, one game at a time, like you mentioned. But, yeah, it could be a fun week.
At least,
And
yeah.
they just had a nice week.
I think we might be back to the point where people are, you know, looking forward to watching the team play a little bit.
I definitely am.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was worried about it. We touched on it a little bit at the beginning here with, you know, it was not pretty basketball for a while there.
You almost got to the first media timeout with no points on the board. It felt like a baseball game.
It was really dicey. Nick Honors hit a bunch of threes. Sean East really got going. You know, Arkansas looked a little bit out of sorts. They were down, you know, midway through the second half, and it was kind of like, man, like what's going on here? But hey, it's a 40-minute basketball game for a reason. They figured it out. They won by 15.
Yeah.
It was comfortable. Before we move on from the game, a couple things I want to touch down, some serious and some maybe not so serious. But Devo,
yeah.
What an interesting game from him. That's kind of the classic Devo game.
I got notes on him too. But
people in Arlington were, you know, screaming at the jumbo screen in there, and so was I. Shoot the ball, dude.
So was I. Yeah.
Because man, like he just had open look after open look after open look from 3-point line, and just, you know, like basket cutting and having layups. He's kicking back out, and it's like, why won't he shoot the ball? But he actually wound up getting 8 shots up in the game. So I think he might have snapped out of that a little bit. But you look up at the end of the night, and, you know, 8 points and 9 rebounds and 6 assists in 34 minutes, and he was defending the power forward again.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, we didn't know what to expect after his leave of absence. How would he be, you know, received by the team? How would he kind of fit back into the mix? And I think this is probably exactly what you need. He's not out there trying to be an alpha. He's not out there trying to get his, like, he's kind of the quintessential team player right now, and it's kind of the glue they need.
He's kind of being the glue guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned it the other day when we did what we know from the lows at Arlington, and he was like, he's one of 5 guys since 2010, 2011 to have the stat line that he did in a game. I think the other guys in there are like Jabril Durham, Cody Clark, which is shout out to my guy Cody Clark.
Hey.
I think JD Note's in there too. So again, we mentioned good company with KB earlier. It was definitely an interesting stat line. But I went back and looked at all those assists, because Arkansas had a good assist to turnover ratio day. Like, they were 16-5.
Yeah.
That plus 11 margin was their best all year. And Devo assisted on half of Arkansas's threes. His 6 assists led to 18 points.
Ooh, I do like that.
How's that? So he assisted on 3. Okay, so KB3, 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 T-Mark 3, KB3, and 1. And then he had an assist to Mekhi Mitchell.
Love that.
So he spread the wealth around, and he was looking for guys that beyond the arc that you want taking threes,
finding the shot makers.
And so he puts the ball in the shot pocket, and you put the ball in the shot pocket, you're probably going to get off a pretty good shot. That's what Jalen Williams was so great at.
Oh yeah,
because I used to track like the potential assist stuff, and I break it down by, you know, the type of shot attempted, and Arkansas was always around like that 50% mark on J-Will on passes that led to threes from J-Will, and it's because the ball's right there on the, you know, on the money, so you can get a good shot up. So he was, shout out to Devo. It was a weird game, but I think he's just doing his job. Like, that's what Eric said after the game the other day. He's like, you give him an assignment, he's going to be like, okay, and then he's going to go do it, and he's going to play hard, and you can't complain about 8, 9, and 6.
No, absolutely not.
And he was plus 15. So
yeah. No, very, very good work from Devo. Thought he did a nice job defending the 4. It seemed like, you know, at one point there, you know, early on in the second half, Dennis Gates was pretty much like, hey, they're going to be playing 4 guards. Like, weirdly enough, we're going to try to go big and try to pound it inside against that mismatch.
Yeah.
And they were really trying to back Arkansas down. And I thought they did a good job handling that for the most part. But I just remember, the Noah Carter kid trying to back down Devo from the elbow or whatever. And then there's the break in action, and the camera pans over to Devo, and he's just like, so
yeah,
he was pretty animated, and it was cool seeing, a lot of smiles out there and a lot of guys fired up.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned it, like Jeremiah Davenport, like he's just so great at being the hype man, just getting right in somebody's face. Like,
vibe coordinator.
What you do,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was cool, man. Sneaky, decent game by Mackay.
Yeah.
I was afraid he was going to get tossed. After he got in the scrum very early in the game and wound up getting the flagrant there, and then he just seemed it seemed like one of those games where he might have a little bit of a blow up, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And he wound up, with 13 points and 6 boards at the end of the game. He did foul out, but he played 28 minutes, so I think you take that from him.
For sure. Yeah, he's on such a positive scoring tear.
Yeah.
Like it's 13, 22, 21. You got the stinker against Tennessee, had one, but 14, 10, 19, 12. Like he's playing like a guy who, like if he'd done this longer, might get some second team consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, I legitimately think that's where he's at right now.
I think so,
and
too.
It's been so important, so significant that he's played the way he has with Arkansas's front court, just kind of beat up right now.
For sure.
And I love Chandler Lawson, but you kind of don't know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what you're going to get from Kai these days. Like you're going to get an elbow thrown, and he's going to score 10 plus.
He's going to make free throws.
Yeah, and he's going to make free throws. So yeah, he's in a good spot.
Yeah, he's looked good, man. The only other thing I want to touch on about this game, first of all, Missouri's terrible, man.
Oh, do we need to do? This is the.
Yeah. Pull up the page. Missouri is now. They're still winless, obviously, in 2024. They're still winless in SEC play. That's 14 straight L's that they've taken. The KenPom page is looking nice and crispy, as Scotty's able to show us here. You see all that red? That means that's a loss.
Not good.
That's not great. That's not where you want to be.
Looks like a guy from South Arkansas on the beach in Gulf Shores.
That's right. Yeah.
Without sunscreen on.
That's 100% right. Missouri's KenPom page looks like a farmer's tan. That's where we're at. So they're struggling, man. And Dennis Gates was big mad after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas had it under control. It's 15-point lead, final seconds. Layden Blocker gets a leak out. Gosh, man, Lay, friend of the program. You self-proclaimed yourself to us as the winner of the dunk contest on the team if it was to happen. We put out clips of you doing between the legs dunks and Crocs.
Yeah. And
then you just didn't get off the ground, man. Like the springs were not activated on that dunk attempt at the end. Like, got to keep it real with you, man.
Yeah.
That was kind of a tough look. It would have been awesome if he had nailed it, but
right.
I think that really ticked off Dennis Gates there at the end, even though their guy tried to do the same thing on the other end, but whatever.
Yeah, but as you said perfectly, just couldn't reach the rim.
Yeah, Noah Carter couldn't get up there. I thought it was an interesting, I don't want to say altercation. The word I'm looking for is escaping me, but
it wasn't your typical handshake line.
It wasn't your typical handshake line, and
coaches.
It looked on the surface like Muss was saying, hey, we didn't tell him to do, sorry, man, he shouldn't have done that or whatever. But Gates just seemed to really have a problem with it. But you know what? He had similar issues with Alabama and, with other, teams this season. And then he's dropping the F-bomb in his press conferences. And maybe he needs to worry about his own team.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he ought to do at this point.
You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah, I do.
Missouri started the year 7-2. They are now 8-19.
There you go.
Coach your own team.
Coach your own team. You've got about 2 more weeks where you get to do that. Then you go find a new team to coach. So,
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think anything else needs to be said.
No.
But that was, I get it from his perspective.
Sure.
Like, you're up by 15, probably didn't like it. But at the same time, your guy tried to do the same thing, but also couldn't jump over the Sparkman phone book to get up to the rim.
That was a tough one, man.
So just wipe the slate clean.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it. Like, you've lost 17 of your last 18 games, and so it's a compounding deal
for sure. So Arkansas they play 9 guys in this game. Really a kind of a top 8 that we've seen emerge. Sometimes it's 7. It kind of depends on, from a game-to-game basis with blocker on how much time he gets. But they've found a formula that works, and Muss is very aware of that. However, and we touched on it a little bit Friday, but now we have a very small sample size to work with. They're getting some guys back. Like injury row is piling up. You mentioned the front court being banged up. Going into that game, Minifield was still out day-to-day with that groin. Jalen Graham was available as needed. Sounded like kind of like a emergency Lawson and, Mackay foul out. We can use him. He's still nursing that shoulder, so maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit of run Tuesday, but, Saturday might be a game where he could jump back in there against Kentucky. TB back. He only played 4 minutes in the game. I'm fine with that. You got him a rotation. You got his feet wet. He broke a sweat. He wasn't trying to do too much. Yeah, good cardio. But it must even said as much after the game, and he said it before the game too, but it was great to see TB back out there. He's worked really hard. Even Battle was saying, hey, we need him going down the stretch here. We need the front court, to get his depth back. We need the rebounding, the three-point shooting, the playmaking, all those things. Great. It's going to be so fascinating to see how Muss manages this because, like he said, getting somebody reacclimated at this point in the season, it's hard and it causes problems, quite frankly. And that's what he said. And he has firsthand experience with that because I will forever wonder, and this is not a knock on Nick Smith at all because I love him. I think he's a warrior for coming back the way that he did. But Arkansas was cooking at that time. They just went and got a nice road win. At South Carolina, they got over the hump. They blew out Kentucky. And you start working Nick back in, and you have ups and downs because
they lost back-to-back games.
They lost back-to-back games. And it doesn't have to be a reflection of Nick, but it changes the dynamic of things. And I know he doesn't want to mess with a good thing right now. At the same time, you have your most talented player coming back, a guy in Jalen Graham who was at the top, in the top 2 or 3 of a lot of your statistical categories in SEC play. I just wonder what it's going to look like. I have a feeling that Brazil's minutes are going – follow with me here.
Okay.
I have a feeling that Brazil's minutes are going to increase and Chandler Lawson's are going to decrease. That's where I think – that is where I think Brazil is going to wind up getting some minutes and maybe a little bit of Jeremiah Davenport. Not all of them. I think Brazil gets back to a point where he's playing 10 to 15 minutes a game max.
I think that's good.
Yep. And I think Graham's going to watch. I think Minifield's going to watch for the most part. That's where I'm at. Because if you really think about it, they're playing Mizzou. They're struggling. They get down in the second half and everything. There were a lot of ingredients there for Muss to just throw Brazil back in there and say, oh, we got to.
Sure, because we got to have one of our most talented guys out there.
And he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's telling. I think he's going to wind up playing. I don't think it's going to be back to the 30 minutes a game business, but he seems like the guy who they'll get added back in a smaller role than he had, and the other guys, I'm not so sure. I'm fascinated to see how it works out, though.
Yeah. Do you think it could be one of those deals where I definitely don't think he's going to start? I just don't. There's no way. Claw probably keeps starting because you want to keep bringing Kai off the bench. You bring TB in, and do you kind of go to him in the minutes that he's out there? 6th and 7th men off the bench in the NBA.
Yep.
Those guys get in there, the ball finds them. You go through those guys. Do you think when TB's out there, do you go to him kind of in that vein?
I think you could. I think you should. I mean, hopefully he gets a little bit more run in a game that, again, who knows, but hopefully they kind of have it under control against Vanderbilt and you have a little bit more wiggle room to experiment there. Let him get a few shots up and get that back underneath him, get that level of comfort back. And then maybe you can do that because, I think you're right. Because, a guy like Brazil, if he's coming in, at the under 12 or something, he's probably going to be a lot more effective if he's getting guarded by, LSU's second team power forward.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
You like that.
I like that, yeah. So maybe that's the way to get him going a little bit. And I like the idea of, when they brought him into the game, cool, you get him in there for one rotation, and then if it goes well, then maybe he's the guy who gives you the last, couple minutes of the first half.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got him 5-6 minutes in the first half. And then, hey, at that point, if you got things working otherwise, he watches like he did against Missouri. But if you get the opportunity or you need him or there's foul trouble or whatever, then he's kind of got his feet wet in the game to where you can get him back out there and feel good about it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I almost feel like Muss is planting that seed by, it would be easy to say, hey, like we've really been struggling without Brazil. He's an all-league guy. He's done that. But now that things are working, he could be like, oh no, like we're adding him back to the mix. We feel really good about it. Now we're back to full strength, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's not doing that. He's saying, hey, this ain't what you think.
You got a good thing going right now. Like
exactly.
They've been making Elite Eights and Sweet 16s playing 8 guys, and he just probably doesn't want to give what people have been clamoring for so long, like playing 11 or 12 guys and a half. Like
right.
Eric he's just not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens. But I think I'm not saying, and when I brought up like the 6th or 7th man off the bench in the NBA and you kind of play, I'm not saying to play through him.
Yeah.
But if you, like you mentioned, like if you've got that mismatch with somebody's backup big man and you feel like that's a matchup advantage, Eric's a matchup advantage coach. Like he's going to get guys, into, suitable situations where they can score offensively, and he'll have a plan for TB defensively too. So I'm not super worried about that. And I'm not saying that you have him out there just to be a decoy or whatever, but his presence beyond the arc, like he's capable of knocking down a three. We haven't seen that from Chandler Lawson, and you're not going to get that from Makai.
Yeah.
And so I think it opens his mere presence, I think, is going to open up opportunities for guys like T-Mark and KB and whoever to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim.
Yeah.
And then if you suck in the defense, pitch it out to him, TB, I'm okay if you take an open three. It would be fine with me.
No doubt. Yeah, exactly. Have him as that kick out guy in the corner. I did like that, not too long after he checked into the game, might have been the second possession, he set a ball screen and he rolled to the rim. They didn't get it to him. It wasn't there, but he did it. And so that's where you can really exploit those mismatches. You set a ball screen, you see what they do with it. I think he's a smart enough player to read that. Maybe we get some of that lob threat stuff where, hey, you can just go up and get it, or same idea, just kind of flare that thing out and maybe get yourself a spot up three. So
if he gets a mismatch, I would love to see him command the ball.
Yes. Yeah.
We haven't seen him do that a whole lot this year. It's just kind of been almost just like one of the guys out there when he's out there. Like if you get the mismatch, like throw your hands up, jump up and down, scream somebody's name, tell them to get you the ball.
Exactly. And, if you look at it, like in this game on Saturday, Davenport played 16 minutes. Chandler Lawson played 10. Blocker played 10. You take 2 minutes away from all three of those guys, and TB plays 10.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just like, oh, now he's back and so-and-so's just not going to play at all. No, not that at all. And we know there's going to be games where, again, like Blockers just doesn't get as much run.
And we don't know if JD would have gotten as much run if he hadn't scored 5 points in his first 2 minutes.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I think you can get one guy reacclimated as a role player without disrupting things too much. But I don't know. What do you think about like Graham and Minifield? I kind of think it stinks because I love Graham, man.
Yeah.
But I just don't, especially with the way Kai's playing. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I expect Minifield to kind of sit. I just kind of do. The backcourt is not an issue at the moment. Maybe if T-Mark's shoulder keeps acting up, you might.
Yeah.
But maybe you just play down a guy, and that's just one less person you have to play.
Right.
With Graham, I think there's a path to him playing, but it might mean you're not getting something from somebody else. Like just if Graham's getting 12 to 15 minutes or more, it's probably because Claw's not producing.
Right.
I think that's about where I'm at. But because I love watching Jalen Graham play, like when he's cooking, there's like nobody on the team that can bring pop to the building like he can, because people just love watching that dude hoop.
And he was playing well and defending.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be upset
calling him.
Exactly. I wouldn't be upset if they just replaced Chandler Lawson with Graham. Like, period. It's not a knock on awesome. But like he's just kind of out there at this point, and I think Graham has proven that he can defend well enough, and we obviously know he can score, and maybe that's a pathway to him down the road. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's not like and Chandler Lawson's not like a 25 to 30 minute guy.
No,
like
not at all.
He's typically like 12 to 18, sometimes 20 if he's rebounding
Playing well,
effectively, rebounding, blocking shots. I think there's a path for JG there. I really hope that shoulder is fine, because I think the last thing you want to do is come back and re-aggravate it and then you're just done. I think he can be valuable. Like you get to the SEC tournament, maybe you win a game and then win another game. That third day, you might have a pretty fresh Jalen Graham.
True.
Would be really nice to have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll see. We will see what they do. You mentioned the SEC tournament, and Arkansas still got a lot to play for here. I mean, the only thing you can do at this point, so just for the sake of perspective, like, hey, Arkansas has won, 2 games in a row here. They're playing better basketball. All those things can be true, but it hasn't moved the needle. Anything that they've been doing in terms of winning these games from a big picture standpoint. You look at the net rankings as of this moment on Monday, and Arkansas is 121 in the net. They were 122 before they played Missouri. So,
Making moves.
They've dug themselves in too deep of a hole here. They are looking at the quads, 3 and 12 against the first 2 quadrants. You got 2 more quad 1 opportunities. They're both on the road. So there is no case for an at-large resume, even if they go to the SEC tournament finals and lose.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go win that thing at this point. So you want to give yourself the best pathway possible once you get there. And you take a look at it now. The wins have been beneficial because now Arkansas has really put themselves within striking distance of avoiding Wednesday sadness, which we've been talking about. You just don't want to be there anyway. But, hey, you'd rather play 4 games instead of 5 in a tournament situation like this. Arkansas is currently tied for 14th, 13th, 12th place with Georgia. They're both 5 and 9. But you take a look ahead, and there are 3 teams that are all at 6 and 8. So, Arkansas is a game out from being in, 9th place. So there's a path to get there. The tiebreakers get a little bit complicated.
Definitely.
But, at 6 and 8, you have Ole Miss, who Arkansas lost to. So obviously that factors in. But you have Texas A&M, who you swept. So if you catch them, you got the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And you've got LSU, who has beat you once, but you're going to get an opportunity to go play them again and kind of even that score, and you get them at home.
Yeah.
So you got to pass a couple teams here to get where you want to be. But, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I know you were doing some numbers crunching and everything for the rest of the way. Arkansas has a halfway favorable schedule and then maybe a halfway not.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's fair to say. I was made aware of this website called bball.nothing.net, and what you can do is, so it's got February 27th and 28th games, March 2nd games, March 5th and 6th games, and then March 9 games. And what you do is you go in there and you just pick a winner from every one of those games, and then you calculate the seeding. Like if everything that you select goes the way, if it actually happens over the course of the next 2 weeks, you calculate the seeds and it spits out the tournament seeds for you in Nashville. I did that. You helped me with it. Calculate the seeds. And the way that I saw every game the rest of the way going, if it goes that way, it's got Arkansas as a 10 seed in the SEC tournament, avoiding Wednesday night sadness, which I think is, you want that.
You would absolutely take that.
You absolutely want it.
Yeah.
And you just avoid having to play Georgia, Missouri, A&M, and Vandy again.
Mm-hmm.
Like those would be the teams, which is crazy to kind of see Texas A&M in there, but they've fallen like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, they have
this year. But if everything goes the way I think it will, which it really won't, I'm sure. You got Arkansas playing LSU on Thursday. The winner would get Alabama on Friday. I just really want Arkansas to not play on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That would be that would be ideal. We've done that one time under Eric. They played Vanderbilt. Mason Jones went nuts, and then the season was off the next day. But just avoiding Wednesday would be good, and it means this team kind of did what it was supposed to. And I've got them beating Vanderbilt, obviously, and then LSU, and then losing on the road to Kentucky and Alabama. And it's really just kind of like your scoreboard watching whenever you're not playing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's basically what it comes down to.
I mean, you look at the teams. I've got some of the schedules pulled up here. You might have it more accessible than I do. I don't know, but like Texas A&M, for example, who I think Arkansas has the best case for passing, just given their success against the Aggies this year. It's not an easy slate for them.
Yes.
The last 4 games, they play a South Carolina team who's still ranked in the top 25. On the road at Georgia, we know Georgia is a different team in their own building. They've got Mississippi State, and then they're at Ole Miss. Like they go 1-3 in that stretch very easily, and get passed up by Arkansas, no doubt about it. You look at Georgia's schedule, who you need to pass, who you're tied with right now. Not necessarily an easy slate. They're on the road at LSU. That ain't gonna be easy. Then they've got the game against Texas A&M. They play Ole Miss at home, an Ole Miss team who's fighting for their NCAA tournament lives, and then they close the season at Auburn. They're not winning that game.
They're
not. It's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching. I'm with you, man. I hope that Arkansas handles their business enough to where they can get out of that bottom 4 and just give themselves an opportunity. I don't know if I'm under normal circumstances. I feel like I wouldn't be crazy about the idea of having to play your second game against Alabama down there in Nashville, and I'm still not, just given the way they're so potent offensively.
Yeah.
But hey, Alabama doesn't guard.
They just gave up 200 points over the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's wild how bad they are on defense. And the whole thing about the Nate Oates system is, if you're not knocking down a bunch of threes, you're in trouble. And so if they get down there on, it doesn't even really have to be a poor shooting night. They could hit 10 threes, and they're still kind of have their backs against the wall.
Yeah.
And they don't handle physicality well. The paint is sweet against them. Like, it's not,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you play Alabama, you got to defend the 3 and you got to defend the rim.
Yep.
Because, like, if those guys pull up to take a shot like 12 feet away from the rim, they spontaneously combust.
Yeah.
And so does Nate Oates.
Yes, he does.
But does it seem like Eric's typically, I know there was obviously the blowout where they had the road trip from hell a few years ago where they lost big at LSU and Alabama, but other than that, it feels like Arkansas's competed well at Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's always it seems like it's a one possession game every time they go down there.
Always. And so that, if I've learned anything covering Eric the last 5 years, every game's different. But a lot of those games down there are pretty tight. They've had a chance to win them, most of them anyway. And Arkansas is going to be up for that game. And they've got to play well, got to play hard, and try to keep Mark Sears off the free throw line.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about a game that ends the regular season for Arkansas. Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but I'm really looking forward to that one too.
Me too. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I do think if Arkansas goes 3-1, they're good.
Yeah,
like they're out of the Wednesday sadness business for sure.
Ken Palm's got Arkansas losing by 15 at Kentucky and losing by 17 at Alabama.
And there's a reason why.
Yeah, I think both of those games will be closer than that.
I tend to think so too. Yeah, I tend to think so too. But we'll see what happens. At least we have something to talk about.
I wanted to bring up one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back from Arlington last night, I'm on Twitter, and I see that Nebraska basketball had a halftime show last night. It was had a halftime show that was a little bit different than the norm. They didn't have Red Panda, they didn't have corgi races, or the Whataburger fry shuffle or whatever. They had football players do a dunk contest, and it got me thinking: who on Arkansas's football team might win one of those? And our minds both went to the same place. Andrew Armstrong's winning that joint.
I like it. Yeah, Andrew Armstrong, super athlete.
Yeah.
he would definitely be, I think, my top pick.
He's like, 6'3" or 6'4",
Yeah.
and I might be slighting him a little bit there, but I feel like he'd be very aerodynamic.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't even think about it. It was like Armstrong.
And we spent a lot of time thinking about this and talking about
I
it
had
on
the
the way
roster
back from
pulled up
Arlington.
and everything. I was just like,
Yeah. New quarterback Taylon Green is one that we feel like
call.
might have a case.
Yeah.
6'6", 210, big guy. He can probably get up and throw it down. And then Ty Broden
yes.
would be another one. I think that's our top three. I think we both agree with Armstrong. I can't wait for spring ball to start so we can start asking those guys those questions
For sure.
and see what happens
That'll be
there.
the type of stuff we'll ask them. Don't worry.
And I could see, because Broden's so tall, he might be a sneaky pick, but Armstrong strikes me as the guy that could have the best tricks.
Yes.
Like he could just hang up there and, maybe he's a guy who could get a windmill down or something.
For sure.
We need to get access to the verts for those guys, and I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's we're gonna get to the bottom of this and get you a real answer. But I think we're in agreement.
I wouldn't be shocked if they do that. I think that was such a hit with Nebraska over the weekend. I was like, somebody's probably going to mimic that pretty soon. Wouldn't hate it. You would just have to get the sign off from Sam Pittman to do it.
Yeah. He's the type of guy that would sign off on that.
I think so too. I think somebody would jump over him.
Ooh, I do like that.
Or he would throw somebody a lob. Sam Assistman.
I bet Sam Assistman.
What do you think about Landon Jackson?
I think he could throw it down. I don't think he's got. I don't think he's got tricks.
I don't think he's got tricks either.
Yeah.
But I think he could put a hurt on a rim.
He is like a drop step, 2 feet, 2 hand with authority kind of thing.
I think so.
Rattles the rim kind of guy.
Yeah. He might be the guy that jumps over Sam Pittman. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Landon's going into next season. That's going to be his defensive star. So I think Sam would do it for him.
He's going to be the one that gets pulled up to the podium during camp. Said, "You want to see what an All-American defensive end really looks like?"
Real deal.
Yeah, this is him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh man! All right, we got anything else?
Got any good Vandy memories?
Well, actually, no. Now that I think about it, because I remember Arkansas blowing that freaking lead last year after the whole Anthony Black thing.
Yeah.
And losing that game by double digits. I remember Scottie Pippen Jr. Giving the dagger to Arkansas at home.
Yep.
And then, that was about a few days before Muss wound up getting his shoulder surgery.
Right. About the only thing I remember recently is Connor Vanover was on Arkansas's roster.
Okay.
Vandy's running a late first half, sideline out of bounds. There's negative time on the clock.
Yes.
Vanover gets subbed in to defend the pass instead of defend the rim, and then Vandy, in very Jerry Stackhouse fashion, he's got that suit on, and the stuff that they run, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 sets that they run, sideline out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, half court stuff, really good stuff. Scottie Pippen Jr. gets a layup at the rim. That was tough. Good memory. Arkansas palindromed Vandy in Nashville a few years back. I think it was like 84-48 or something like that. And Daniel Gafford, I think, threw down like a legitimate windmill.
Yeah.
I think he put the ball through the floor. He threw it down so hard.
There we go.
That was a good one.
And it was the last. I mean, even though it ended on poor circumstances, it was the last win of Eric's first year in Nashville.
Yeah.
The COVID year.
Yeah.
Right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, because they would have played South Carolina the next night. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, I remember doing the how to watch for that South Carolina game, put it up, and then like 15 minutes later took it down.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Vanderbilt's got some players. They've got a really nice point guard in Ezra Manjon, who I think is underrated. He's just small, but who did he buzzer beat? Texas A&M.
Yes.
He had a buzzer beater against Texas A&M to beat those
that
guys.
Boy triple jumped before he got that shot up.
He did do that.
Call it.
Yeah. And so it's a nice little backcourt 1-2 combination between him and Tyron Lawrence, friend of the Natty State Sports Big Board back there.
Board boy.
Yeah, so a good backcourt. Obviously, they've been struggling this year. I think you take a look at them, and what is that record? 7-20, and 2-12 in the SEC. You got Jerry Stackhouse again. That suit is on, like you said, but he's been kind of up there at the podium after the games, quoting scripture and stuff like that. And hey, that's awesome, but usually that's a sign of a man who's about to be without a job.
I think that means he's kind of going through it.
Yeah. And so, there've been a lot of murmurs and stuff out there. So might be nearing the end of the Stackhouse era over at Vanderbilt.
You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
I got another thing.
Okay.
Vandy beat UNC Greensboro.
They did. Right before UNC Greensboro beat Arkansas.
That's correct. Yeah. How wild is that? Vandy loses to Presbyterian and then beats UNC Greensboro. It's just basketball, man.
It must really wants that Mississippi State game back.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one loss this season, which one would you can only get one? Which one would it be to get back?
That's a good question. Are you leaning Greensboro?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's a very fair one to to go towards.
Yeah, because I feel like that's when people started being like, this team might not have it.
Yeah.
But it was right before the Bahamas. I'm like, man, I remember telling you after that Greensboro game, I'm like, never been more convinced they're going to win the battle for Atlantis. I remember telling you that.
Right.
Back in November. Did not happen that way. Would be nice if you had a win over Kentucky at home.
That was mine. Yeah.
Man, you were right there.
They were right there. That just feels like one that slipped away from them.
Yep.
Even though they were shorthanded in that game, but you had College game day in there. The biggest of stages, and I thought they outplayed them for 37 or 38 minutes
Agreed.
that game.
Yeah.
And you look at Kentucky now, and they've fallen off some. That would have been a huge win. It would have been a Q1, and that's the kind of thing that I think could have maybe fast-tracked them a little bit to get to where they are now a little bit sooner.
Sure.
I think that one could have helped them a lot. I mean, you win that Kentucky game, call me crazy, I'm not so sure you lose that game at LSU the next weekend.
Yeah.
I think you might just have a little bit more, in the tank. I certainly don't think you go out there and lay an egg the way that they did. So there might have been some trickle down from that one.
Kentucky, you're 5-3 in your last 8.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
4-4.
And then you're in that mix with everybody else at 6-8 instead of a game back. And if you're one game in SEC play, if you're 6-8 right now and you've got the rest of the league schedule that shakes out the way it dodoes, you probably feel pretty good about not playing on Wednesday night down there. So yeah, I think that would be the one. The one for me. Hey man, the Mississippi State game too. I get it, I get it, man.
Yeah, Eric just called in, said still rewatching the Mississippi State game.
Yeah. He just sent us a screenshot of the non-foul call on Chandler Lawson's offensive rebounds.
Prepping for Vandy, watching Mississippi State. I mean, you know what you got with Vandy. It's Tyron Lawrence and Ezra Mannion, but I don't even know if I probably butchered his name, but those are the guys.
Those are the guys. Yeah, handle the backcourt. Come out with energy. Like you said on Friday against Missouri, like you got to do a little bit more than just show up.
Yeah.
So they got to come out and actually be ready to play. But I think they have turned the corner from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, it's too little, too late. I
Yeah.
think unless you just win the conference tournament, but it's good to see. It's good to go in the games, feeling confident that they're going to play hard.
Yeah. 2 more wins, and you at least guarantee yourself to finish 500 or better.
Yeah.
So that would also be nice to not have a losing season on the record.
Not a doubt about it.
I know it's a lot of consolation prizes here for a team that was ranked in the top 15 in the preseason. But that's just where we're at, people. Okay.
Yeah. Take it one game at a time.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, and Arkansas plays a Tuesday night game. It's 8 p.m. against Vanderbilt, which means our next show will be on Wednesday, and it will be a post Vandy win. ? Autopsy, maybe?
Yeah. 8 p.m. SEC Network. We're going to wait around all day for Arkansas Vandy.
Yeah. Prime time. When is prime time? It's when Arkansas plays.
Yeah, prime time's when the Hogs play. Shout out Jack Henley.
Exactly. All right.
Big baseball guys now.
Yeah, big baseball guys now.
Weekend.
Yeah, that was a fun weekend in Arlington. The Oklahoma State game lasted entirely too long, and the Razorbacks wound up losing that one. But hey, got out of the weekend 2-1, and for everyone that's jumping off the bridge because this team can't hit, they will. They will. Just realize that they have a national championship weekend rotation. So those guys are awesome.
They do. Those guys can shove it.
Yeah. Crazy numbers of strikeouts. We got to watch the Hagen Smith thing, which was freaking crazy. So
Hey, and that clip that you put out about him eating Jersey Mike's before every game,
Yeah.
Jersey Mike's liked it and replied to the clip.
great.
So he might have a Jersey Mike's patch on his jersey the next time you see him on the
Yeah,
bump.
and I will be looking forward to the royalties from that. We'll get in touch with Hagen's people and we'll make that happen.
Yeah, I got to get you some comp for that.
Yeah, better that than being sponsored by Gagewood Salmon or underwear.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here, people, and we always appreciate you tuning in. Fun show. It's a lot more fun after wins, and we've had that. And 2 straight. Can we make it 3? That I think at that point you get to call it a streak. We'll see. But either way, we'll be back here on Wednesday. For Scotty Borderline, it's been Curtis Wilkerson with Natty State Sports. We will catch you guys at the Pot the Palace in a couple days.